Okay, hi folks. Hope you can hear me all right. Let's see, I'm just getting set up. Okay, I think I'm set up. Let me light a candle. And I will burn some Palo Santo. Just a little, just enough. Okay, let's do some tarot. Today, I am using a deck that was gifted to me recently over the holidays. This is the Arcana tarot playing cards. And this is from a company called Dead on Paper. I love these. It's a regular deck of playing cards. I'll show them on camera. And the major arcana have been added. So you have a regular deck of playing cards, although there's, hearts, but then also cups, diamonds, and also pentacles, clubs and wands, batons or staves, and spades, but also swords. The court cards are illustrated really fabulously in this kind of woodcut, black and white woodcut image. And the majors are as well. So here's the Wheel of Fortune, for example. Really beautiful cards. They shuffle incredibly well. And I'm in love with them. I love these cards. They're fantastic. So today I'm going to do some free live tarot readings. If you are interested, check the description of the video or the pinned chat message for how to request one. Welcome to anyone who may be joining. My name is Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free readings today. Hi, Johanna. Yes, I could do a reading for you. If you'd care to post your question in the chat, you can be first on my list. Okay. So Johanna asks, what do my spirit guides want me to work on in 2026? That's a fun question. And I think what I might do, Johanna, my go-to spread, I use an open reading method. I'm not sure if I've read for you before. I use an open reading method, and I usually do a pull of 3 cards and I read them in line. But for this, I think I might go ahead and do a 9-card portrait spread or box spread, which will give us more information. And since I'm streaming earlier in the day than I usually do, and so there aren't a lot of folks here. So let's do that. All right, let's see what kind of picture or story we get. And it's a fairly open question. What do my spirit guides want me to work on in 2026? So perhaps as cards come up, if there are things you can say to provide additional context, that will allow me to give a more precise reading. But of course, you never have to say any more or less than you want to. So let's see what we can get for Johanna. What do Johanna's spirit guides want her to work on in 2026? All right, here we go. And hi, Svetlana. Thanks for joining. I can read for you next once I've finished reading for Johanna. Okay, this is the star. First card down is the star. The Emperor. Four swords. Nine swords. Two swords. So I'm going to lay the rest of the cards, but we're seeing quite a lot, Johanna, quite a lot of swords. Got two of the major arcana. And so for everything that's come up is swords, including the center card of the spread. This two of swords is going to end up being the center of our 9 card tableau. And so this gives us a kind of central concern for you going into 2026. And it has to do with exchanges. Twos are about exchanges that may be difficult or challenging or even painful. So we'll get more details in a moment. But the first thing that comes up here is, what do you need to work on in 2026 according to your spirit guides? Working on having difficult exchanges with people. Like, how do you deal with them? How do you handle them? We have the Fool, another major arcana. The Empress. Wow. So it's all majors and swords. The Moon. Oh my God. And the Hermit. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a spread come out like this before, where we've got only one suit and they're all swords, and every other card is from the major arcana. So thank you for being here and prompting this question, because this is going to be a very interesting spread for me to read. uh, oh boy. Okay, so I suspect that there's something going on here in your life, in the context of your life, uh, which involves you giving too much to others, giving so much to others that you're kind of getting sick and tired of it. And you're perhaps frustrated by the fact that in order to exercise your own power or agency in life, you feel like you need to work through other people. And that's prompting you to feel like you want to reject the whole situation and like go off and live in a cave. So that's me reading the four corners, which gives us a context to start with. The star gives, the four is about feeling sort of like problems won't go away, and you're maybe feeling a little sick and tired of it. The Empress exercises her power through others, and the Hermit wants to walk away from it all and go figure things out for themselves without having to deal with other people's crap. Let's put it that way. Um, so that's an opening. Next, I'll read the center cards that form a cross. And so we have the Emperor up here, and I suspect that this may be another person in your life. If it's not a person, it could be a situation, and someone who's very exacting and demanding and commanding. And um, I wonder if you are giving too much to this person or to this situation. And underneath that, it's creating, let's call them uncomfortable feelings, uh, confusion, anxiety, that kind of thing. Like this emperor person or emperor situation, it could be a partner or a parent or a boss, um, or a landlord, is like constantly demanding that you give more and more and more. And so underneath that Um, you feel like you're sort of out in the dark and uncomfortable about it. Uh, with these two cards in the center, Nine of Swords and the Fool, uh, there's a sense that within, it's like in the past, things have maybe taken a difficult change, perhaps a change for the worse. If not a change for the worse, it's as though there's something difficult you've had to work through, which again has caused a lot of anxiety. And perhaps you feel on the outside a little bit either foolish or that you're having to take a kind of risk in life. Uh, and the risk, I suspect, because if we look at the way that the Fool card is looking at the Emperor, it's like you're wondering if it makes sense to take the risk to perhaps foolishly walk away from this Emperor person or situation. Right? I tend to read the cards very much in terms of visual images. I'm looking at the pictures, right? And so the Fool is looking at the Emperor, and also notice the size difference, right? The Emperor is much bigger than the Fool, and the Star for that matter, right? So maybe you're in a situation of wondering if it would make sense for you to leave a difficult situation, just to like walk away from it, even if it would be risky, or even if it would make you seem foolish, right? Um, so I'm looking at other ways we can combine these cards because, of course, there are so many. Um, I think what's emerging here are sort of two possible outcomes. And so you ask the question of what do your spirit guides want you to work on? And generally speaking, it's how to have difficult exchanges with others, right? So I guess I can go ahead and answer your question there. The answer to your question, what do your spirit guides want you to work on, is they want you to work on having difficult exchanges with other people in ways, not just fighting them uh, or being aggressive or ornery or anything like that, but finding ways to have like difficult conversations with other people, uh, especially if you find yourself frequently in positions where you're like, well, I'll just give more to this person. I'll just make myself more available, or I'll rearrange my schedule, or I'll just pour more of myself out in the hopes that they will finally be satisfied. And what you need to work on, according to these cards, is allowing conflict to arise instead of just giving more and more and more. Uh, so that's an answer to your question. Uh, to dive slightly more deep into it, we can look at the diagonal placement of the cards to see like what are some possibilities that are emerging for you in the future regarding this issue of um, being willing to confront others and have conflicts with others and difficult exchanges with others when they are necessary, right? Um, and so, one possible um, emerging possibility situation would involve reading the Four of Swords with the Empress modified by the Nine of Swords. And this to me sort of says you're just going to let things stay the way they've been, right? You're, even though you're maybe feeling sick and tired of having to deal with other people's problems and giving even when you've given too much already, even giving to the point where there's nothing left, you sort of get comfortable with it, and decide that um, this is a difficulty that you can deal with, and you'll find other ways to um, to exercise your own agency in the world. And obviously, you need to make your own decisions. I'm not here to decide for you. Um, but that I think might be a little unsatisfying. And so the other possibility that's emerging that is available would be reading the other set of diagonals, which would be star to hermit modified by the fool. And so here I see, instead of you being the star who gives freely of themselves, even to the point of it either being unnecessary or too much, you say, you know what? Actually, I'm going to retreat to my little cave for a little while, and I'm not going to keep pouring out water from these vessels. Instead, I'm going to shine a light up, and I'm going to look really closely and try to understand what's going on in my interactions with other people. And I might look kind of foolish doing that, and that might be kind of risky, but sometimes it's good to be a little foolish, right? At least for periods of time. Don't let anyone ever stop you from making a fool of yourself. I think that's a good axiom to live by. And so, to me, reading this, I think that second interaction of don't be the star who gives to everyone, but instead take some time to be a hermit who figures out what it is about their exchanges with others that in the past seemed to necessitate giving too freely of oneself. And if other people think you're being kind of foolish in stepping away or retreating to your cave for a while to sort yourself out, then, let them say you're a fool and do it anyways. Yeah. All right. So that's the answer that I would give to you, Johanna. And I hope that you find that useful and um, that you get something out of it. And let me take a look at the chat here because I see there's lots of other folks who've popped up. Welcome, everyone. My name is Will, the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free live tarot readings today. Check out the video description or the pinned message in the chat for information about how you can request a reading. Okay, so let me look at the chat here. Svetlana, I will put you down here on my list. You'll be next. Svetlana. And then Pink is 21. All right. Followed by B. Hi, B. Welcome. Good to see you here again. And then we have J. And Maximiliano. All right. And Helga. Okay, great. So that's a pretty good size list for me. So I'm going to um, plan to read for those folks in that order. And if I call your name and you're not here, I may need to skip over you. Okay. So Svetlana, you're going to be next. And Svetlana wants to know what to expect in love. Let me pull these cards up and shuffle for Svetlana. And Svetlana, can I ask, are you currently in a relationship or are you single? Single, okay. All right. So Svetlana wants to know what to expect in love. So I'm going to deal three cards for this, and we may add cards depending on what we get. Okay, we've got the King of Coins, followed by the World. Oh my. Followed by the King of Clubs. Okay. So you can expect two men um, vying for your attention, right? I see two men looking at a woman who is dancing, and I'm obviously making some assumptions. I hope those are fairly accurate. Um, the world depicts a woman dancing, and she is self-reliant, and she is perhaps sort of minding her own business to the extent, and I say that because of the way that she's surrounded by this wreath, right? She's minding her own business, and so she is not relying on others. And it is possible that she is um, so self-reliant and so sort of doing her own thing that she doesn't see that these two guys or these, they're not always guys. I read the court cards irrespective of gender, but I'll call them guys unless I have a reason not to. These two guys are both looking at her, right? These two kings are looking at the world. And one of them is the King of Coins. He is the one who has power over what he values, which can certainly be money, although it's not always money. It can be the mind as well. Um, it can be his morals or behavior. It's whatever he values. He exercises his power over it, and he feels very much in possession of it. And then the other is the King of Wands, or batons, or staves, or clubs, however you'd like to read it. And this guy exercises. Um, he's a kind of manager sort of person. He's the one who exercises power over his work, and often that means exercising power over other people as well, right? Directing other people as well. And so, what's next in love? That was your question. And so, my answer to you would be there may be some guys, assuming that we're talking about guys. If they're not guys, they're just people in positions of power of some kind, right? Uh, who are looking your direction, but you may not see them, right? And if you see them at all, I suspect you'll see one and not the other, right? Because if we look at the way the world is facing, she's clearly looking in the direction of the King of Clubs, but has certainly no idea that there's a King of Coins back here too. Um, so, my sort of suggestion here would be that assuming you're interested in starting a love relationship, a romantic relationship, and I'm sure you are because you wouldn't ask this question otherwise. Um, Keep your eyes open for potential partners who um, may not be sort of in your line of sight. People who you may not have, um, who may not sort of be directly um, or obviously be people you would consider being partners with, right? Or dating or talking to, or however you want to say it. And then the other thing I would add is because I read the world card as someone who is so self-reliant, she's the kind of person who like has support from others, but doesn't necessarily need it, right? Um, she's a little bit, can be a little bit like above it all, right? And for that reason, it might be a challenge sometimes to sort of come down to earth and see these guys who are like sitting in thrones. She's up in the air. She's like dancing and flying around, having a great time, right? These guys are sitting on thrones on the earth. And so, in a sense, there's a contradiction of levels. And so, she either they need to rise up or she needs to sort of come down, or maybe they could meet in the middle, that kind of thing. Um, and so there may be a kind of change of level necessary in order for these people to kind of get together with one another. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to do follow up questions today. I'm going to have to stick to one question per person just because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. Uh, but I would definitely say that there's um, two folks who are who sort of like have their gaze tilted in your direction. I'll put it like that. Okay, so let me look at my list and welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will, and I am doing some free live tarot readings today. And I've got a fairly long list already at the moment. I may open it up again later, but for now, I'm going to not add any more until I've gotten through the folks I've already promised to read for. If you are on the list, I will call your name when it's your turn. And if you're here, then I'll read for you. And if you're not, I will have to skip over you today, though, of course, I'd be happy to read for you again in the future. So, next on my list is Pink is 21, followed by B, J, I think it was Maximilian. I can't read my own handwriting. And then Helga. All right. So those are the next five on the list. So Pink is 21. And if Pink is 21 is here, I can give them a reading. And Svetlana, you are very welcome. I hope that they appear too. And I would also just say, like, tilt your gaze downward a little so that you can see them metaphorically, right? Like, they may be looking up at you, and so you need to sort of look down, metaphorically speaking. Okay, so let me gather these up. And so Pink is 21. Are you here? Okay, if Pink is 21 is not here, then B, you are next on my list. All right. Okay, so B says, how does G feel after reading my email to him last week? I'm in a no contact situation. Okay. All right. So, B, is this someone you have like dated in the past? Or I guess that's what I'm assuming with the no contact, right? Like you dated, you're no longer dating, something happened, and now you're no contact, but you did, okay, that's a yes, but you did email this person last week and you just want to know, like, what are his feelings? Okay, got it. All right, let's see. We'll lay 3 cards for this. Okay, so first card up is Death, followed by 8 clubs or wands or batons, followed by the Queen of Cups. Okay. So I would read the you here be as the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups is a very nurturing kind of oh, you knew the Queen of Cups would come up. Do you show up a lot, B, as the Queen of Cups? Because there she is. Yeah, so, the Queen of Cups is a nurturing, caring oh, you're a Pisces, yeah, there so that's you. Uh, a nurturing, caring, intuitive, emotional kind of person, um, can be a kind of, a therapist or a healer, that kind of thing as well. And so this is definitely um, you showing up in the spread. And then, of course, we have to acknowledge that the first card down is the death card. Uh, and so we all, B, I know you're familiar with tarot, so I don't have to rehearse basic meanings of the death card, but it means often putting an end to things. Some people will read it as a transformation. Um, I tend to read it more as death is the final stop. Death is it's an ending where things are never the same as they were before again. Um, the Eight of Clubs is then interesting to read in between these two cards. And with eights, I tend to think in terms of thoughts, collectives of thoughts or collectives of people. And so it would be interesting if there's any way in which you ever worked with this person. Uh, but if because eight of clubs can mean a group of people who work together. But I sort of see this as um, putting an end to thinking about the work or effort or pressure um, that went into his relationship um, with the Queen of Cups, right? And so, oh, you used to be colleagues. Aha. So you did used to work together. Yeah. So, what is he thinking about? I think he's thinking about putting an end to, um, I mean, I don't know your history with this person, but um, it's almost like he's trying to resist the urge to put in effort again, right? And I'm using the word effort because I think that with clubs or batons, you build things. So it's work, it's effort, there's pressure. You gotta sweat, you gotta put effort into it. And so what is he thinking? Well, he's thinking, or what are his feelings? You asked specifically, what are his feelings? His feelings are about um, stopping, putting an end to the death of thinking about putting in effort. So I think the tension here, because whenever I'm reading tarot, I'm trying to figure out like what is the tension, and so the tension here, I think, is why does he need to stop putting in effort unless there is a sort of implied feeling there that he wants to put in effort. So I think there's probably a certain sense of ambivalence in his part, uh, and that he's trying to resist it. He's trying to kill, so to speak. He's trying to kill his thoughts of um, putting in effort to build something with you again. if that makes sense. Whether he will succeed in that would be another question altogether. Um, but it might be the kind of thing where, like, you are still sort of on his mind, and he feels like he needs to find a way to sort of get you out, get you out of his mind, right? I read the eights in terms of often in terms of people's thoughts, right? And so, like, the work it would take or the pressure he feels to start things up again, he's trying to kill that. Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay. So, you're welcome, B. Happy to read for you. All right, so check that off. So Jay is next on my list. If Jay is here, I can read. So we've got Jay and then hi Jay and then Maximilian and then Helga. So Jay, I'm not sure if you've posted a question already, but you're welcome to post one, and I would be happy to read for you. Okay, so Jay says that they are in between two love options, and you're wondering if you could get a love reading. Yeah, so what I'll do for this is anytime it's a question of choices or options, I like to lay two different groups of cards. And so I'll lay three cards representing one person and three cards representing the other person. And we'll decide in advance which group of cards represents each of these people. And so in the past, the way I've done this is we'll start with the person you met first. The only reason this wouldn't work is if you met both of these people at exactly the same time, but that's pretty rare, I think. So the first set of cards are going to represent whichever of these two people you met first, and the second set of cards will represent whichever one you met second. Okay. And so we're checking to see, like, what would a relationship with each of these people be like for Jay? And in other words, like, um, what potential is there for a relationship with each of these people? Oh, great. And Jay says that Jay met these people years apart, so it'll be easy for us to distinguish who is who. Okay. So we'll lay out three cards for the first person. We may lay additional cards depending on what we see, and then three for the second person. So, person number one, the one you met first, the world. 5 coins or diamonds or pentacles and death. I'm going to lay a fourth card because the death card is facing something and I need to know what it is. It is the Ace of Wands. Huh. Okay. So the first person, the world and the 5 of coins say this is someone who's self reliant, as I said earlier with another reading today. Self reliant and very much has a grasp on whatever it is they find valuable to them, whether it's their money or their mind or their vitality, whatever it might be. Someone who's like got a hold of their situation in life. A possible downside with the world card is because this person is so self-reliant, they can sometimes seem a little bit above it all, right? Like instead of walking on the same ground that everyone else walks on, this person might sort of think they float above it a little bit. And that could be a potential issue to consider. The Death card and the Ace of Wands, I think, are even more interesting in that the Death card is putting a stop to something, is ending something. Uh, and what are they ending? Like, what is it they're looking at to end? And it's this Ace of uh, Wands. And so, the 2 things come to mind, okay? And so I'll tell you what they are. And um, the first is just the Ace of Wands can be an opportunity or a duty, putting an end to a job opportunity or putting end to some obligation that they have. So they could be the kind of person who, because they're a little bit, can sometimes be a little bit above it all. They may just let their duty, their obligation die, right? The other thing, because this is a love reading, and so I need to go into this, and I hope it's not too weird saying it, but I do read the Ace of Wands often as a card very much about sexuality, and so you would never want to see that next to the Death card, right? Like, um, this can be a card of sexual vitality, and if we're talking about a love context, which we are, then that would be part of the context. So if we're thinking at the end of sexual vitality, that could be a deal breaker, right? That could potentially be a deal breaker for someone. So I would read the potential for a relationship in this person as at first seeming really good if we read left to right, past to future, or more present and then moving ahead as we read across to the right. Um, Someone who, like, has themself together very much so, and is very attractive, I would think, and sort of has advanced themself in life or elevated themself, um, maybe even to the point where they're like, I'm done. I don't have any more questions. Thank you. I've done it." Has a good grasp, right? The 5 fingers of the hand, I read the fives as grasping often or in terms of the body. Um, Vitality, right? Grasping very much um, what is valuable to them, but then also maybe letting an opportunity die or a duty or an obligation die, putting an end to it, and also potentially, um, as I said earlier, sexual vitality, right? Sort of withering. So let's lay 3 cards for the other option. This would be the person who you met later or after. And let's see what cards we get for that second person. And we have 3 cups, 10 cups, and 8 cups. Cups, cups, cups. Cups across the board. So that's always good to see in a relationship reading, to see lots of cups. Uh, there will be far less complications, I think, with the second person. This is much more straightforward. There's much less like, oh, it could be this or it could be that, or there's death and you know, um, the perhaps over self reliance of the first person. Here, what we have are a collection of cups that very quickly turn into absolute bliss, an emotional high, like as good as it gets. 10 of cups, I would read as like, this is as good as it gets. Now, of course, that won't last forever because in any relationship, there are, of course, ups and downs. But even when it goes down, it just goes down to 8. And so the threes I read in terms of growth, right? Like there's a lot of potential for uh, fulfilling growth between you and this other second person that will reach an excellent high where it could not be better, and end or develop into the Eight of Cups, which I would read as thinking really loving thoughts about this person. The eights can also mean groups of people, in which case, this could mean an extended family eventually. This could mean that you have a really good social circle together, that it's not only happiness between the two of you, but that your happiness extends into or flows into happiness of other people around you. And so that's wonderful. If I were choosing, assuming I was looking for a fulfilling relationship, like emotionally fulfilling relationship, I think my choice would be. It's pretty clearly, I would say, for the second um, option. Uh, if there's any downside, because I'm always looking for contradictions in the cards. I'm always looking for, if it looks bad, how could it be good? If it looks good, how could it be bad? I'm always trying to see it from both sides. And so if there's anything to watch out for in this second person, it would be, there's a whole lot of love, but there's not anything else, right? So for example, there's no conflict for one, there's no swords, and that might be great, although conflict can also be interesting and conflict can create order, right? And so think about with cups, we're thinking about water, right? Or any like liquid, and it flows every which way and it gets in everything. And so if your cup overflows, like at this 10 of cups, um, there's not a lot of structure to it, right? That would be 1. 2, there's no coins or diamonds, and so there's not necessarily money, there's not necessarily interesting, stimulating conversation, although if you love each other, it doesn't mean it's not there. It just could be that, what's showing up in the cards is something else that is more important to you, which is the emotional fulfillment, right? Um and so, it's every relationship has its conflicts, and I've only pulled 3 cards, and so it does make sense, I think, to look for what's missing, but I think the second one seems to be in this, reading, pretty clearly the front runner, of the choice, unless there's some other context that would make us think otherwise. Okay, Jay, so that's what I would see here for you. You're very welcome, and I wish you all the best with your upcoming um, relationship uh, decisions. Okay, so let's see here. Next on my list, I believe I have Maximilian, if I wrote that down correctly. And there is Maximiliano. Wonderful. And so we'll do Maximiliano and then Helga. Okay, let's see. Maximiliano. Okay. Great question, Maximiliano. Maximiliano wants to know if he will be hired by a company to work this month or next month. Great. I love the way you phrase your question. You build the timing into it, and the specificity is really great because I find I can get more precise answers when there are more precise questions. And so I think what I'll do is lay down 3 cards for each month. And we'll see what we come up with. The first 3 cards will represent like the next between today and the next 30 days. And the second 3 cards will represent about 30 days after that. So from like late February to late March. Okay, first 3 cards for about the next month. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So I assume that since you're trying to get hired, you're sending out job applications and whatnot, and the old saying of the hardest job you'll ever have is trying to get a job. I think that's what this says, right? We've got 5 clubs. You're working very hard. You're putting in a lot of effort to the point where your body, like if you're filling out applications online, maybe you're getting some wrist strain or some eye strain or something. You're working very hard, uh, and there's not money, right? Ace of coins would it's 1 coin. So working hard and not getting rewarded for it is the way that I would put that. Or the any kind of reward you're getting is much less than the effort you're putting in. And then we've got the string ending with an 8 of swords, which is um, either thinking troubling thoughts or being in a sort of bad atmosphere. And so I would read this as like the job market's tough. The job market is not good, not favorable. And so you're putting in all of your effort, money is dwindling, and the job market is not in your favor, right, in that month. So I think I'd say for that first month, probably it was you asked a yes or no question, will you get hired or not, um, by a company? And so in the first month, I'm gonna go with probably not, with no. Let's look at the second month. We've got 8. Oh, that's better. 8 coins, 3 coins, and the king of coins. Okay, so coins, coins, coins. Well, you get paid for working, presumably. And so um, if there is money here, unless you have some way of getting money other than working, um, I would think there is some hope here. And you know what? I'm seeing the King of Coins is looking to the right. And so I want to pull another card, see what this. Okay, 7. All right. So 8 coins turn into 3. So that the King of Coins possesses a bunch of swords. That's the straightforward reading in line way to read this. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of giving another no. The 8 coins represent either people or thoughts. And so this would be you thinking about money or a group of people who are all sort of thinking in the same way, groupthink, um, dwindling or decreasing down to 3 coins, which is just under what you need to be stable, right? 4 would be stability. And so the resources you have, or you're thinking about your resources because they're not as stable as you would probably want them to be. The the King of Coins is really interesting to see here, uh, because there's no other person implicit in your question other than yourself or like someone who would hire you. Um, the King of Coins is the one who possesses things, right? He has things. He has his values, he has his money and all of that. But what is he looking at? He's not looking at a new job, which would be like any of the clubs, like an ace of clubs especially, would represent effort and work and doing things. But instead, he's got the 7 of swords, and 7 of swords is trouble and trouble. Sevens are trouble and swords are trouble. So it's like trouble piled on top of trouble. Um, so because I don't, I'm not able to give a positive answer to your question, I think what I'd like to do is pull 3 more cards to represent what you can, like, what is the best thing you can do for yourself in your current situation, okay? And so I'm gonna pull 3 more, and those 3 cards are going to describe what's the best thing you can do here. King of Swords, 7 of Hearts, and 4 of Coins, or diamonds. Okay, so, the King of Swords is ready to go to war, right? He's the one with the power over the weapons, metaphorically, of course. I'm speaking metaphorically, right? So he's not showing off what he has. He doesn't have power over his emotions necessarily. Like, that's not his thing. He's the one who's like, I will send an army to destroy you if you do not do what I'm saying you need to do. And so instead of being the King of Coins, who is looking forward to possessing everything they have and is really living comfortably, would be a way of putting it. Um, you should shift your focus like you are about to go to war, right? You are about to send your army into battle. And that's the kind of mindset that that will benefit you most going forward. The 7 of Hearts is a um, discontent heart. So you're you should prepare for uncomfortable feelings to come up and hold on to what resources you do have so as to maintain a stable financial situation, right? There's your four diamonds that would indicate um, stability with regard to your resources. So the best way to prepare is think about it like a wartime situation, right? Like fighting. Uh, be prepared for an obstacle, an emotional obstacle to be coming at you, and do everything you can to stabilize the resources that you currently have available um, to get you through this difficult period. Okay. And so Maximiliano says the advice cards were King of Swords, Seven Cups, yes, and Four of Pentacles. I'd like to understand what this advice means for a potential job offer in February. Well, I mean, reading it that way, reading it as like, how could you get a job in February? Um, think about like, okay, if you are interviewing in February, don't go into the interview like the king of coins who who's got it all. They want to hire uh, how should I phrase it? I wouldn't quite say a warrior because that would be more like the knight of swords. Um, a general, someone who can command an army, right? Someone who will fight for them, not just someone who possesses shiny, interesting ideas. Does that make sense? Not just not just someone who possesses something valuable that they might want, but someone who will go to war for them, even if, or particularly when, their heart is not totally in it, if it will give them a stable financial situation. It's kind of cynical reading it this way, uh, but like someone who will do whatever it takes, even if it makes them emotionally uncomfortable, if the result is that they have the resources they need to be stable and comfortable. Okay. So, Helga, are you here? Okay. Yes, Helga's here. So we'll read for Helga. Okay. So, for Maximiliano, I wish you the best of luck with your job search. I know it's like not good out there. I mean, I don't know where you are. I'm in the US on the West Coast, and I mean, I know people who are look. I'm lucky enough, blessed enough to be employed at the moment, but I have friends and loved ones who are not, and it is rough out there. Welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will, and I've been doing free live tarot readings today. I'm Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. And I think so. Next on our list is Helga, and Helga, I'm going to read for you. And I'd closed the list earlier. I think I might. I think I'm in the mood to do a few more, so I think I'll open it up. So I'm gonna just scroll back and look for everyone who wrote in all caps. Please add me to the list. Let me see if I can find these people, and then we'll see. Okay, so I think we have Ari, such a lover girl, and then Priscilla, and then Rose Maria, and then Selma, Selma, and then YKLIL. Oh, and then let's see. Anne's human. Okay. Okay, so Ari, Priscilla, Rose, Selema, YKLIL, and Anne's human. Okay. But first, Helga. So Helga wants to know, someone rejected me yesterday. Will he regret his decision? If not, what is coming towards me in love? Nobody likes to get rejected. We've all dealt with it. So, 3 cards for will he regret his decision? Okay. Okay, let's see. 10 coins. Ooh, death. And 4 swords. Hmm. So 10 coins means brilliance in the way that they shine in the light, but metaphorically, then also the brilliance of the mind, right? And so I think in the context of the question, this could refer to overthinking things, right? Like there's as many thoughts as there could ever possibly be to the point where there's too much mental activity, right? Some people say that this card is that you can never have too much. I kind of think maybe sometimes you can. And so the way I'd read the line of cards is he may realize that he was overthinking things and now wants to put an end, death, to little problems that are poking at him, gnawing away at him, which will eventually make him kind of sick and tired. And so I actually do think there's a possibility here that he will regret his decision. I mean, n- given your question about regret, which suit most represents regret? And I would say that it's the swords or the spades, right? And so what's coming up for him is all of these thoughts, maybe too many of them, uh, which cause him to want to put an end to this feeling that, like, he's boxed himself in with troubles. And so I think he might regret it. I think there's a chance that he will think, well, what if I was just thinking too much? You know, what if I was like not open to a possibility that could be really beneficial, really fulfilling, really nice, because my mind was just too full at the moment, right? That I was thinking instead of feeling. So I think that there is a possibility here that he's gonna say, actually, I think I was overthinking things too much, and let's give this a try, right? So that's what I'd say with these cards. I think there's a possibility that he will experience some regret, the kind that just sits there and doesn't want to go away, right? And it's not, it's four swords, so it's not so bad, but it's the kind of thing that over time makes you sort of sick and tired. Um, like hems you in, boxes you in, makes things feel maybe kind of unstable. And so he wants to put an end to that because the thoughts keep he keeps thinking like, well, what if I had what if I'd said yes? What if I'd said yes? And it keeps coming back, right? And so he's like, all right, fine. Let's let's put an end to that and give this a try. Okay. So I think I have Ari next on the list. And just as a reminder, um, so I've got my list, and you're welcome, Helga. I will go through the list, and it's I as best as I can. I'm on my own here, looking through the chat, but as best as I can, I will go in the order that I see people who request one time in all caps. Can I be added to the list? Just because it's easy for me to see. And so then, if I call your name and you're not here, I will have to skip over you so that I can move on to the next person. But I'd be happy to read for you in the future. So Ari isn't. So I have Ari, Priscilla, Rose, Selema, YKLIL, and then Anne's Human is the current list, and then I'm gonna stop it there. I think that will be enough for the day. So Ari, if you're here, I can read for you. Otherwise, yes, Priscilla would be next. We'll give Ari just another moment if Ari's here. Oh, good. Ari's here. All right, Ari. So I haven't read for you in a little while, and Ari's posting right now. Fantastic. Okay, let's see. So, Ari, just seeing if there's another post earlier. Sounds like we're looking at a love reading. So, you had a crush on someone's brother for a while. Her brother's a Pisces, she's a Gemini. When I was last at the store he worked at, I saw him working there, though I was hoping I wouldn't see him because I'm trying to move on from him. Aha. And he's already with someone, but you really needed groceries. Okay, fair. And you were already in the area. Okay. I love all this context. I have to say, I love a good, I love a good story. Um, because then I'm invested. Like I want to know what's going to happen. You didn't want to go to a different grocery store out in a whole different area because it would have gotten home late. Yeah. And the buses run every hour at night and it was 6. Yeah. Understandable. So you go to the store, I'm assuming, where this guy works, even though you're trying to avoid him because, well, it's your friend's brother and that can always get messy. And he's already dating someone. And so that's like messy, 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 potentially. And so is the question like, what should you do? Or is there potential for the two of you? Plus, you weren't going to avoid it. Yeah, just for the sake of avoiding him. It wasn't worth you getting home late. He works there. But the other times I saw him, it was a Tuesday, it was Friday. So you were thinking like, well, maybe he won't be there. But he was there and you saw him. Okay, you saw him in one of the aisles. He was talking to a coworker. So did you have an interaction with him that day? And are you wondering what he's feeling or thinking about that interaction? Yeah, you weren't trying to see him, but it was made sense. It was convenient. Okay. She knew you had a crush on him. Wasn't about her being his sister. And so just for the sake of precision, what is this the question? Okay, you caught him glancing at you more than once. And so are we gonna ask, what was he thinking when he glanced at you? Okay, you didn't end up interacting with him. Okay, so should we ask, what did he think of that interaction? Or you didn't interact with him, but he knew you were there, right? So what did he think? What was he thinking of the fact that you were there? Does that sound like a good question? Oh, oh, no, I'm wondering if his sister suddenly viewing my story not too long after that incident was because your crush might have told her about me. Okay, let me read that again. Did his sister, your friend, his sister, suddenly viewing your story, your Instagram story, I assume, not too long after that? Okay. Okay. So, um, let's nail it down. Are we wondering what your friend was thinking or what he was thinking? Because I would read the cards differently depending on which one of those people we want to prioritize. Would you rather know what the sister was thinking or what he was thinking? And it sounds like you're actually more interested in what the sister was thinking. So let's go with that. We'll pull 3 cards to answer what was Ari's friend, the sister of the person she has a crush on. What does she think um, of Ari having gone to the store that her crush worked at? Oh, you're wondering if he told her anything. Okay, so well, let's see. So you're wondering if did your crush tell his sister about you being at his store? Is that our question? Did the crush tell the sister, your friend? The confusion is when I read the cards, I need to know the precise person whose perspective I'm reading them from. So, are we reading from your perspective, from the crush's perspective, or from the sister's perspective? And it will matter when I'm reading the cards. Otherwise, things will get very confused, right? And so, like, told her anything about me telling him that I had a crush on him the other time, then seeing him again the last time. Yeah. There's like 4 or 5 different questions I feel like we could ask, and so I just need to be precise about which one we're actually asking. Otherwise, things get messy and it won't be, precise. So, we're going to ask, did he, the crush, tell the sister anything about Ari going to the store? All right? So, we're reading this from his perspective. Did he tell his sister about Ari going to the store or anything at all about Ari going to the store? Okay, there's our question. All right. All right, here we go. Page of Wands. The Devil. 2 wands. And then because the page is looking to the left, I want to add another card to see what the page is looking at, and it's the King of Coins. Well, okay. We have an interaction between 2 people. The King of Coins and the Page of Clubs, and they're looking at each other, right? And the context of the question was about, did the one person tell the other person something? And so that automatically makes me think, yes, right? Like they're looking eye to eye as though they're having an exchange, and then that alongside the 2 of clubs at the end. Twos, I believe, are often about exchange. Um, the 2 of clubs specifically is like cooperation, like 2 people working together, having like a maybe a brief encounter with one another where there's some exchange of some kind. And so my answer to your question, I think, would be yes, that there was some sort of interaction where they um, they sort of discussed this incident, this occurrence of you like going to the store that he works at, um, which is not so big a deal, except of course the devil is here, and so the devil can be about lies. The devil can also be about half truths. Or I think maybe to give the benefit of the doubt to these people who I don't know, but that we're sort of gossiping about, can be about exaggerating things. And so I think there's a possibility here that that your crush and his sister did have an exchange about this, and that maybe it's being blown out of proportion. That maybe it's that maybe they're, like, getting all hot and bothered about it when it seems like it wasn't really that big of a deal, at least from your perspective. You're like, "I need food. This is a convenient place for me to get food. I'm gonna stop and get food." Well, you said store. I thought grocery. I'm not sure if you said grocery, but anyways, you went to this store, right? Because it was convenient, but now maybe they're talking about it in a way where like, "Ooh, there's all this spiciness um and heat about it," right? Um, and they're having this exchange about, um, with the 2 of clubs, I think of like 2 people shaking hands too, like hey, they talk about it and they shake hands. There's like an agreement, right? Agreement between the 2 of them about it. Um, so short answer to your question, I'm gonna say yes, right? I think that they did discuss. I think they did discuss your showing up at the store, and that they might be making more of it, making it into more. One of them could be making it into more than it actually was, right? Okay. Um, so my list now is Priscilla, Rose, Selema, or maybe it's Selena, YKLIL, and then Anne's Human. And so, Ari, I think they probably did discuss it, and maybe you're blowing it out of proportion. Um, in ways that are not necessarily accurate. Let's put it that way. You're welcome, Ari. Thanks for the question. So Priscilla wants to know about her career. Okay. And Priscilla admits there's maybe some laziness here. Strange moment in career and struggling with procrastination. Okay. All right. So, should we ask what's the best way for you to address your procrastination with regard to your career? Does that seem like a good question? What's the best way to all right, deal with procrastination, especially regarding career? Okay, let's see. Okay, so for Priscilla, what's the best thing she can do to deal with her procrastination regarding her career? And I guess for context, it might help to know, are you currently employed or are you currently not employed? That might be useful depending on what cards we get. Oh, there's our king of this guy's come up a lot today. Okay. Ah, you're waiting for an answer. So like you've applied for a job and you don't know. Ooh. Okay. Well, I always strive to answer specifically the question that was asked. And so we ask, what's the best way to deal with procrastination regarding career prospects? Um, and we get the King of Coins, the Hermit, and the Ace of Clubs. So Hermit's there in the center, but let's start with the King of Coins. And so um, the best way to deal with your procrastination would be number one, to think about the power that you have over your intellect. The King of Coins possesses a great power of mind, a great power of intellect, and he knows that, and he's totally aware of it, which is why he gets to sit on his throne and chill and hang out with all the wonderful things that he possesses, because he's smart enough and understands his values, has power over them anyways, to like organize his life in such a way that he gets what he wants, right? And so the first bit of advice regarding the procrastination would be sort of like exercise power over your mind, right? But let's dive into it more because next we have the hermit. And so, how is the king uh, going to do this? And we see, if we think of these as the same figure getting up, the king gets up, like he's not sitting down anymore. He gets up off his butt and he starts walking, and he walks slowly, and he needs a walking stick to stabilize himself, right? And to make sure he doesn't fall. Uh, and he's got a lantern, right? The hermit's lantern to help guide his way in the dark. And so that lantern there again could be the power of the mind, right? Thinking, uh, to help him see his way. And you see the way that the coin or the pentacle transforms into a lantern, right? Coins can reflect light, but the lantern, the light glows from within and more brightly. It doesn't just reflect the light; it sort of produces the light itself. And so, the other thing the hermit does is the hermit goes it alone, right? The hermit's on their own, which means it can feel lonely at times, but the hermit is willing and ready to reject all of the um, everything that people say you should have to be happy, right? People say, well, you need a big house to be happy, and you need lots of money to be happy, and you need this kind of job, and this kind of hair, and this kind of friend. That's how you will be happy. And the hermit says, no, I'm going to go walk up this mountain, and I'm going to find a nice cave that I can live in. And I'm going to go in that cave, and I'm going to think. I'm going to understand myself better. I'm going to reject all these desires and things that everybody's telling me this is what it takes to be successful, because I think um, I can live a better life, whatever that might mean, um, in my cave up on the mountain, right? Uh, so that's a kind of philosophical way of saying, how do you deal with your procrastination? I think you need to understand yourself better, work on understanding yourself better, which will likely require some introspective, solitary thinking, right? Like, figure out, why do you procrastinate? Why is it that you find yourself not taking the steps that it sounds like you know you need to take? Um, or on some level, you know you need to take them, but then it sounds like maybe you find that you don't, right? And so figuring that out, and metaphorically standing up, I think that's maybe the key thing here is, instead of sitting down and holding on to what you have, stand up and go shine a light to see what else is out there, right? Like, s- get up, stand up, and you can move slowly. The hermit's not quick. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So don't feel like you need to rush, but the hermit is walking and standing and moving. And he has a crutch, he has his staff he leans on, and he has his tool, his lantern to shine the light. And yes, it's cold out there and he's got a cloak on, but he's doing it anyways, right? And this last card, what will happen if you do these things, if you stand up and all of that? Well, then you get an opportunity to work. That's what this card is. Ace of clubs in this context is the opportunity to take on a new task, a new duty, a new project. And so I would read this as the new job. Um, so be like the hermit, who rejects others' conventional ideas about what it is to be happy, and takes time aside to seek out and understand who they are, what makes them tick, uh, and what would be fulfilling for them, even if it's totally, wildly, completely different from what everyone else in the world and their life is saying uh, they should be doing, right? Um, so like something that comes to mind is, maybe you went to school for something, or everybody tells you you should be going into this career or that career, and maybe you're procrastinating because you just don't give a crap about that other career, like the job that seems to the job path that everyone seems to be guiding you towards. You're like, you actually don't want it. You know that you're supposed to want it, but you don't. And so that's why you're procrastinating, maybe, right? And the hermit is the one who will say, well, then I'm rejecting that. I'm not going to have that job that everybody thinks I should want. I'm going to go off and um, do this other thing that might seem totally unconventional, or that people will say, "Oh my God, why are you doing that for work? That doesn't like." People don't understand the hermit. People don't understand why someone would willingly choose to go live in a cave on a mountain. Uh, but the hermit prefers that, right? And the hermit can be very content doing that and will learn a lot, and come to understand themselves better through it. It may not be a permanent thing. One day they might come down from the mountain, but they will have gained insight that they wouldn't otherwise have by doing this thing, which the rest of the world says is kind of crazy, right? So that's my answer to you is, stand up, be like the hermit. And it's through rejecting the world's conventionality and understanding yourself better that your opportunity is likely to come to you. Oh, you're an actress. That's okay. Um, so yeah, that is already kind of uncertain and unconventional. Um, Let me think about that in the context of acting. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like if you're preparing for a role, I'm not an actor, although when I was a kid, I did a little bit of like theater camps and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. I loved that, and I love the theater when I get to see it. There's a decent amount of local community theater near me, which, while not professional, I still really enjoy. Um, and so I'm thinking about the way that an actor might, when they're preparing for a role, where they might sort of metaphorically lock themselves in a cave and like learn their lines and do a lot of study of the character that they're preparing for, um, in a way that might seem kind of weird. A lot of creative types, including actors, have very odd methods, or what other people might think of as odd methods or ways of preparing for a role, or a creative project, um, that seem really unconventional, right? But if it works for you, do it anyways. What matters is that it works. It doesn't matter what other people say about it. Okay, so let's see. Next on the list, we have Rose. If Rose is here. And so the rest of the list for today is Rose, Selema, YKLAL, and then Anne's Human. So if Rose is here, I'll read for Rose. I know it's probably been a wait, but that's the way it goes. Gotta gotta wait in line, take them as they come. Yes, I am. I do need to close the list for today because I've almost been going for 2 hours, and 6. Yeah, and I am unfortunately at my limit. So Anne's Human is here. So Rose, if you're here, please let me know. And then yes, Jean, I'd love to read for you another time. Selema or Selena? I think it was Selema. I can read for you. And then next would be YKLIL. If you are here, I'll read for you. If any of those three are here, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to jump to Anne's Human, and that'll be my last for the day. So Rose, Selema, YKLIL. Okay, so I'm not seeing Rose, Selema, or YKLIL. So I'm going to skip them and we'll do Anne's Humans reading, which is about a person named Yoshita. And this is someone I think I've read for before. I think it's like the two of you dated at some point, but then I think she moved away, if I'm remembering correctly. One of you moved. And so you're wondering what's coming next in your connection. There's physical geographical distance, which is a barrier. And you met online. Got it. Okay. So you met online. So then you haven't dated in person, but you'd like to, but the distance is a problem. Yes. And so you hope to maintain the relationship and hopefully move it forward. But you're worried that because of the distance, it might turn into a no contact situation, which would be unfortunate. But yeah, geography can be a problem. Yep. Okay, so let's see. The question then is what's coming next in their connection? And we're looking at this from Anne's Humans perspective. What's coming next? Okay, let's see. 3 cards. Wow, there is that King of Coins again. All right, King of Coins, 6 clubs. Jack, okay, Jack of Coins. And I'm going to lay another card because of the way the Jack is facing, or Knight. It's the Knight in other decks. 3 coins. Okay. So I don't think you're headed for a no contact situation. For that, I would expect to see like the death card or a bunch of swords, something like that. I also don't necessarily see a deepening of the relationship in a romantic way. For that, I would expect the sun card or cups, right? Instead, what we have are clubs and coins. And so that would be about putting in effort and then getting some results back from your effort, right? And so I would read this here as the king of coins here is you. And what are you doing or what are you looking at? Well, it's the 6 clubs. And so 6 as I reads in terms of a path that we walk. If you see the way that they sort of line up, like you can imagine someone sort of walking along these rows or columns of clubs. And with the clubs, it tends to be about either a path where putting in effort is required in order to move forward. And it can also sometimes mean sort of going back in order to go forward, which is why one of the traditional meanings of this card is like studying or having to do research, like going back so that you can figure out how to go forward. And so um, I see you continuing to put effort into the relationship, right? Uh, and you mentioned that it's online, and so when I see the coins, I'm thinking about the way that it's um, electronic or digital kind of relationship. And so this 6 is about putting in effort, finding a way of doing things. The knight here is also the same. Um, although moving very, very slowly. That's the key with the Knight of Coins. He's the slowest of the knights, and so I would expect making progress very, very slowly. The six suggests slowness in the way that it's going back to move forward, the six of clubs. The Knight of Coins suggests slowness. He's the slowest of the knights. But there are some results that come at the end, which is the three of coins. Uh, Two things to say about that. It's a growing kind of intellectual connection, or a connection that is valuable and that is growing but is not yet stable. Being at least four would be stable, but we've got three, so it's like taking shape. It's beginning to increase. An idea is turning into a growing interest, uh, but it is of coins or pentacles as opposed to cups, which would be more like a fulfilling emotional connection. This might signal more of um, a transactional or intellectual kind of connection. So that's one thing. And so that just suggests to me that, like, the two of you do continue to talk online, right? That's a little way to put it, a succinct way to put it. The connection continues very slowly building. The other thing to note is with the numbers, the six and the three, the results you get, three, are half as much as the effort you put into it, six, right? So like for every 2 units of effort that you're putting into, you get one result, if that makes sense, right? And so that might at some point be frustrating if you feel like you're having to work twice as hard as you should in order for things to move forward. But if you do, this says you will get results, in the sense that the transaction, the exchange between you, the interaction between you, will continue to grow in a way that is valuable. So I don't see things ending as long as effort is expended. Uh, but I also don't see it necessarily growing in a way that's like, um, the Ten of Cups, where it would be like absolute emotional bliss, or even a Two of Cups, where it's like the beginnings of a new romantic relationship, that, a romantic exchange, that kind of thing. But I do see a connection that continues. Okay, so yes, the list is closed for today. I've hit my 2-hour mark, and I need to have lunch. I've been going for a while now, and it's time for me to stop. Um, so, Anne's Human, I wish you all the best with your connection with this other person. Effort will Putting in effort to the relationship will yield results, but expect it to be slow going. Slow and steady wins the race, might be a succinct way of putting it. So let me say thank you to everyone who let me read for them today. And for those of you who perhaps I was not able to read for today, I'm sorry. Um, but I would love to read for you in the future. Please consider liking and subscribing to help support the channel, and also because you'll have a easier way to tell when I am online. And I look forward to reading for you all again. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day. Take care of each other and be well. I'll see you guys next time. Glad you're here too, Sanja. Look forward to reading for you in the future. Bye.